This is weird, guys.
I guess everybody starts off with their name. I'm Chris Weinberg. I'm a graduate student at USC at the Institute for Creative Technologies. At my lab, we go out and scour the web. We're interested in a particular type of blog, and it's the personal story people tell about their daily life.
I'm Andrew Gordon. I'm a professor in computer science at the University of Southern California. But one of the reasons we've been looking at weblog stories in general is because of what you can learn from them. And indeed, if you're trying to build a training application, you want to take one story from a repository of millions of them and deliver it to a learner or a trainee just the right time. Some story that provides just the right message, just the right example to make some point in an educational setting. And we could do this automatically. We could get a computer to read and analyze the textual content.
In order to accomplish this, we have to analyze millions of posts, weblog posts every day. And I noticed that we do a good job, but we're not great. And there was a bunch of spam in there and a bunch of news articles and stuff. I looked into finding a way to sort down to get rid of some of that spam at least. It seemed like the fastest and easiest way to do it would be if we're getting a post from some website a whole bunch, then you can probably throw it away as spam, something that we don't want. Pretty much anywhere that you wanted to set the threshold, you'd cut off a lot of spam, but you'd also cut off these people who kind of look like spammers because they're posting what we want. They're posting personal stories about themselves, but they're doing it at such a frequent rate that they sort of blend in with the spammers.
There was always some real person who was posting much more than we thought a real person could do. At some point, we decided, the only way we're going to answer these questions is by actually talking to them.
Nice to meet you, Dave. I'm Chris.
Chris. There'll be a quiz later, so.
Yeah. So what did you think when I first emailed you?
I looked at it and said, well, again, could be my chance to get rich in the Irish sweepstakes or something. So let's see what the deal is. You've already got my email. You kind of know my locale. Okay, nothing really bad can happen. Let's find out. I'm David Cavan. Writing a blog became sort of wasn't a necessity so much as it became an outlet. A friend of mine suggested, hey, that stuff you write, it sounds sort of like a blog. I started blogging on May 6th, 2005. Then took 2 days off and thought, well, I'll do it again on Monday. And then it became Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And I didn't stop. I haven't stopped.
When we actually got the list of mega bloggers, the first guy we looked at was this teacher in Oakland who'd been doing it for 8 years. But then we kept looking down the list, and there were all of these different people. My mother knows an FBI agent. He says, ma'am, your son should be careful. Whenever I knock on a door, I don't know what's on the other side of it. It would be a really long con to get me murdered this way, and I think I'll be fine.
People look on Maggie's life as a tragedy, and it is anything but. I mean, we are like the most boring family on the face of the earth, and then Maggie makes us more interesting. Maggie has nursing 16 hours a day, and the nursing agency that provided the nurses was not going to do it anymore. And there was a real honest threat that we were going to have to place her out of the home. I actually just started writing cathartically, like writing about her. A lot of people knew all about Maggie, and it was just like, people are actually reading this. And then it became more about educating. I really don't know how many people read it. I mean, I can look at the statistics on the Blogspot thing, but I don't really know how to interpret them.
17 from Germany, 6 from the UK, 3 from Sweden. Just because I find it so fascinating, I've got a list of them. I don't know where we keep Slovakia. They're just phenomenal to me. That someone in Tunisia has any reason to look at Farview Farm. My name is Bo. I write a blog called The View from Farview Farm. I don't live a normal lifestyle. I mean, I can food, I make my own cheese, I milk goats, I have chickens. And the world out there is so busy and so hectic that I thought maybe it would give some insight into what life used to be like.
I've been talking to people about my research, and they ask me, what's the point? I get a little mad about it when I hear people talk about just treating the data as data and trying to avoid some of the ethical questions.
So the studies I was telling you about were really trying to investigate whether people believed that the conversations they were having in what were obviously public forums were private. And in general, the reaction was what you would expect. Many people were upset, right?
You know, my impression was a lot of the bloggers were going to be like, how did you find me? Why are there people reading my blog who are strangers? And they seemed completely unfazed.
Hi.
Hey.
Chris?
Yes, I am.
I'm Sarah.
Nice to meet you, Sarah. What a nice place. Everybody so far has had nice places.
That's good. That's good. I write books that are set in Regency England, which is the weird period between 1810 and 1820 that half of all historical romances are set in. It's kind of like Jane Austen with sex is probably the easiest way to describe it. I have 3 books out as Sarah Ramsey. That's my pen name. The blog actually, in some ways, helped with that process because it was a way for me to stay accountable. You know, it was like I would announce, oh, I'm working on this book. And if everyone in the world knows I'm working on this book, then I have to finish it at some point. I guess I'm just curious why you're researching weblogs. I mean, it's an interesting thing because it seems like a lot of people aren't blogging in this way anymore. You know, they're all like trying to build a platform, or they're a food blogger or they're a fashion blogger or something. So I'm just curious, like, are you researching a dying breed, or are you like...
A little bit.
And this was the kitchen. And then there was a wall here, yeah.
There are other renovators, and they're like, hey, do you want to do a guest post? I'm like, that's awesome, you know. You're working on your backyard, we're working on our backyard. I'll post about the backyard. Companies have said, like, I'll pay you and I could do a post on your blog. And it's like, no. One day I just started, picketyproject.blogspot.com, and now a couple other blogs share it.
With that blog, we do try to get more people to look at it. There's a dream that one day maybe that blog would actually earn some money. Back years ago when I would look at the stats, it would just be like random things. You know, I used to write about the Beastie Boys a lot. Diehard Beastie Boys fan does a Beastie Boys search, and maybe on the 20th page of Google finds my website.
That's cool, yeah.
Everybody's a little bit nicer than I expected, I guess, but that wasn't based off of reading them. That was just based off of, I guess, my own fears of meeting strangers.
Hi, come on in.
Hi.
How are you? I'm Daphne.
Nice to meet you, Daphne. I'm Chris.
Hi.
They're the crew.
Why are they standing over?
They've got the camera on.
Oh, okay.
Have you ever lied on the blog?
No. I mean, you just wouldn't write it. Why would you lie?
So you don't, like, embellish any details from your life as a stay-at-home mom to keep things a little more interesting?
No. And I think that was the whole point, was to be real. It's called like encounters that you can put. I think this is like unique visits. So the first time someone visits, and it's 181,979.
Those are great paintings, by the way.
That's my son.
Yeah, that would be Trevor was his name?
Yeah,
and Juliet. This is the weird part of every time I've met somebody, because I know a bunch about their...
Because you read the blog.
Because I read the blog.
Yeah.
It was a little bit weird. It was like seeing an old acquaintance for me, and it was like them meeting a stranger for the first time. They have no idea who I am and what it is I do. I'm the mad scientist in the room over at USC.
Right.
Does this make you uncomfortable at all?
Well, no, because it's also like I'm really into research. I was asked to keep a diary while we were doing a research medication. And I felt like I kept such rich data that it would be useful for other parents who have kids with Fragile X syndrome to read this. Once I started posting all of this information online, my family really liked hearing the updates. And so it sort of just became par for the course to continue updating about our daily lives.
The person who is generating it, who's speaking or writing or whatever, has a reasonable expectation of privacy. So of course you wouldn't go sneak into somebody's house, take their journal and start reading it. And you wouldn't tap a conversation with between a mother and child sitting in a park.
Oh, be careful. I've had people contact me and ask me about advertising and stuff, so I knew that more people were reading it than just people that I knew.
You actually have a second blog.
I actually started that one because my dad is a pastor. I didn't grow up with him or anything, and there's just like going to rock concerts and stuff that I didn't necessarily think that he would approve of.
Like whenever I got my last tattoo, I put that on there because I never really talked to my dad about tattoos, so I wasn't sure how he'd feel about it. Since then, we've talked about it and he's okay with it, so I'll still put up pictures on my other blog. It's not really a big deal.
Do you think you have strangers reading your blog?
Well,
Other than me, I guess.
A stranger's just a friend you haven't met yet. That's what Mr. Rogers would tell me. But actually, yeah, I know that I do have strangers reading it. And I assume it's sort of in the same vein that I read strangers' blogs. The internet's just sort of out there waiting to be looked at.
I've thought more about this in the last 4 days since I got your email, to be perfectly honest, than I ever really thought about before. I don't think anything you put on the internet is private at all, ever. I don't care what anybody says. And anybody that thinks opposite, I think, is crazy.
Because we bought prenatal vitamins and we bought
a pregnancy book at the
yeah,
bookstore.
what to expect when you're expecting. No matter what, someone's gonna find out about it, and
I think
I don't think that Amazon's gonna like spill the beans to my mom.
Statistics of any kind can be manipulated. My degree is in communication, so I'm not unfamiliar with tweaking. Not twittering, but tweaking.
Well, what you buy should be private.
Why?
For anybody to find out? No way.
Right. I don't think that you should be able to just oh, it's all public, but they could be found out, and I'm aware that that could happen.
Yeah, could it be hacked? Sure.
Right.
Yeah, but that's different from, oh, I'm just buying it online, so now it's available for everybody to find out.
I mean, I always check the box. It's like, don't sell my information, asshole.
Yeah.
If you as a researcher are going to say something about a particular person that could do them harm, then you're violating your ethical obligation to those people, I think. As a researcher. Now, as a private citizen, if I go read somebody's blog and say, this is the stupidest thing I've ever read, then that's just free speech.
I know that even if I do have it set so no one can see it, there's still a good chance that someone that wants to find it can.
You know, when I was a kid, there's no such thing as cyberbullying. I feel like we're being photographed all the time. And she's gonna have to be more aware of her behavior and that can be documented unbeknownst to her.
We conducted these interviews in the spring of 2013. But in May of 2013, NSA contractor Edward Snowden blew the whistle on a massive domestic surveillance program run by our government. Suddenly, the meaning of privacy online had changed, not only for us, but for everyone.
Not only is their data being used by other private organizations, it's being used by the United States government in ways that they don't understand and have absolutely no control over.
I would definitely like to know how my information is being used. I live in a Farview farm. I want to see as far as I can as to how things are going.
I don't write anything that I resent, that I wish XYZ didn't read or that population didn't read. The photos, I would be actually more concerned if anyone was using my photos.
When I was looking at the blogs, I thought that these were just the super extroverted people. And it turns out that actually they have perfectly good reasons for going and doing what they're doing.
I actually think it's pretty cool, this idea that there would be people out there collecting data on us to be able to market directly to your needs and wants versus being spammed with things that have nothing to do with anything that I'm interested in.
You know, I have a little capsule that's this big of that year of our lives, and it's kind of a nice thing just for us, you know, in 30 years to look at some of the stupid things we were doing.
I think every writer I know has had, maybe not a stalker, but something like that. That's the one reason why I might stop blogging at some point in the future.
When would you stop? Well, you know, again, a couple times it's occurred to me, it's like, well, I could just stop right now. Nobody's paying me. I'm not getting any particular, you know, significant feedback that tells me like, no, don't stop, except for those 2 or 3 people who, So the idea that somebody would be studying it now actually sort of gives me that credence, like, well, maybe what I should do is do even more.
I told my sons when Facebook was first getting popular, you know, if they're going to use Facebook, to treat it like they're standing on the balcony of a crowded hotel, screaming out, and the person in the next room can hear you, and the pool boy can hear you, and the lady at the pool can hear you, and you don't know who they are, and they can all hear you, and that's how you have. And that's sort of how I write my blog too. That I don't know who's reading it.
When I started this, I was really interested in being able to treat these people as people and not just as data. And this experience has been really helpful for that, and actually getting a sense of the connect between actual people's lives and what they write about themselves. I think I'll keep following them. I have a few emails that I need to send off to keep in touch with some of the people that I met. So I'm going to take two.
Okay.
We'll both get in the picture. Okay, that's one. This is the thing in Thailand. The kids will each have one. They'll take two pictures and they'll write like a phone number or something at the bottom when they make a friend. It spit out this. It was out of film, wasn't it? Oh, sorry. All right. That's good. Okay.
Awesome. It was great to meet you.
It was great to meet you too. Happy Mother's Day.
Thank you. And I look forward to reading your research.
Hopefully something good comes out of it.